Hello and welcome. This is Nadda, and today we're talking about storytelling for your business, how to tell your story through your client's eyes. So, if you're interested in this subject, you need to watch on, or if you're ever confused about how to tell stories, then this one is for you. I know it's a difficult topic. It's something that confuses people because how are you supposed to do it? So if you're watching for the first time, welcome. I'm really excited to have you here, and carry on watching to find out how to tell your story through your client's eyes. So first things first, why do we have stories in business? Like, why do we need to do that? So if you don't know already, storytelling is one of those secret magic tools that sort of help your customer connect with you and hopefully feel this emotional connection that will help you sell in the future. So to have an effective story, you need to have certain things. You need to understand the parameters of your story. You need to understand how to be authentic in telling it, and obviously not to be long-ended. And it's not a novel, right? It's just a short story about your business, how you got here, but it has to be told from the perspective of your client and how they can relate to it on an individual level, that they feel a connection with you. So that's why the perspective has to be from their eyes. If I go on about, oh, I did this and I did that and then I got here, it's not really going to transfer into a connection. But if I talk about, or if you talk about your struggle and how your life got you to wherever you are right now in that business, and why you're selling the product or the service that you are selling, then it sort of connects the audience with you, because you came through a journey. You came through a journey where there was struggle, and then there was like trying to find solutions for it, and then eventually you found a solution, and then you tried it out and it worked because it solved a problem, or it did something that helped you achieve something. So there's always a struggle, but then there is a success, like a happy ending, so that your customer, your prospect, feels like, okay, I can do this as well. Okay, so that's one of the authentic ways of doing it. But then you have to think about how you can be consistent in your storytelling through your client's eyes on every platform that you're on. Because as I've mentioned many times before, that the consistency is the key. Your message cannot be changing everywhere. The message has to remain consistent. The message has to be the same everywhere. But you cannot just copy and paste it, in your all the platforms that you're on. It has to be something that you tweak for every platform, because one format does not work for the other for the other platform. So it's not like one format is perfect for every platform. You have to tweak it. You have to tweak the message. Every platform has its own little quirks, and it has its own type of audience. So you have to tweak that as well in your story. So according to the platform, you will either take a line and make it into a quote. You'll either take a picture that represents that. You'll take the crux of the message. Either it could be the problem or it could be the solution, and put that out there, or you share the link to wherever you are sharing that story. So so that's just like the way of sharing the story. So now let's rewind and go back to like how to do it. So if you're watching live, please say #live so I know you're watching. If you're going to be watching this replay, then do #replay as well, so that I know you've watched it. And do comment, ask questions, because that's how we interact, and I love to interact with you guys. So hello, hi Rihanna, you're watching. I'm glad you are. So coming back to storytelling. So a brand story or a business story has the capacity to basically elevate your business, to connect you with the right audience, to create emotions or arouse emotions in whoever's watching or listening to an extent that they feel the connection. Okay, so this connection is what marketers call emotional connection. This is what you need to really arouse in people to connect. Now, in the back in the day, people used to, when we didn't really do storytelling as such, at that point it took brands years and years to build that emotional connection. And you had to just show up consistently and do it and do it, and customers would sort of buy from you and become your customers, and then over the years they would have that emotional connection and do that. But Apple, Mac, Apple, they started doing it amazingly back in the 80s. They really figured out the formula and they started applying it, and storytelling took a huge turn at that point. Their ad came out in which they aroused emotion like this was their tribe. Their tribe is going to be connected because they know they've got the best computer. They know they've got this thing which gives them value. And that's how that ad was revolutionary in the advertising industry. Okay, that's when people discovered that, okay, this is how storytelling needs to be done, because it was like an emotional ride. It was like a movie, but movie that was just in a minute or a couple of minutes, right? So it was like a short movie. Now that was revolutionary back then. Now we've got all these platforms that do 15-second movies and 1-minute movies and stuff like that. So it's easier to do it for us as business owners. So we should really be leveraging this as much as possible. But storytelling is not just you go on and you just start talking. Storytelling has to be defined. You have to define what the aim of this story is. You have to define what are you trying to say, who are you saying it to. So your ideal customer, your dream customer feels that connection, because you're not going out and just talking to the whole world. You have to know who you're talking to so that you can talk to them directly. And the other thing is that this is where your brand persona comes in as well. Your brand personality has to be clearly defined so that when people are watching this video or this, wherever you're sharing your story, your blog or your social post, it comes across easily. Like that consistent branding that we talk about all the time, that should be reflective in your story. So story is not just about how you got there and what the problem and the solution is. The story is also about that the realization that this is powerful and why you need to have it, and how the other person would also get the same results if they apply that product or service that you are offering. So your story, where do you even have it? Like if you have a website, for example, where do you put your story? It's not going to be on your landing page, that's for sure. It's going to be in the about you page or about me page, whatever you have on your website, because that's where your story is always done from the perspective of the customer. The idea is that people should be connecting to you, not to your ego, but to you as a brand, the brand that's offering solutions for whatever it is that they're offering solutions for. And if the customer sees themselves reflected in that story, or they identify with that struggle, they are more likely to follow you, subscribe from you, or buy from you eventually. Because remember, the first time they come in touch with you, they're not going to buy, right? They have to be brought in to your world, and your world is your website, your world is your email list, whether you're offering a freebie somehow to get them on the email list. And this is how they come into your world, and then you have the opportunity to convert them into customers over the next week, or days and weeks and months. If not the first time, the second time, next time or the times beyond that. So the idea is always to have people coming into your fold, into your world, because that's how you get the opportunity. Those become your leads, right? Okay, so now how do you build a genuine story? There lots of books have been written on it. I'm sure there are lots of videos on it as well. So let me start from the beginning. Once you know the parameters of what you're trying to say in your story, you have to understand that, imagine a movie. Like, okay, let me give you an example. If you go to a movie, there's always a start, there's an introduction of the backstory of the character. And then that character, you understand where they're standing at this point. Then you understand there's always a struggle. Everything is going hunky-dory, and then suddenly there's a problem, and then there's a struggle, and they struggle with it for a bit, and then there is a solution, and then there's a happy ending if it's a story like that. Or they find something else, they find people to help them, they find a mentor, and then they move on. And eventually there is a happy story. So there's a problem and a solution. So now you need to bring it down to 1 minute, let's say. And how do you do that? So your business has a backstory. You got there for a reason. And why did you get there? How did you get there? What journey did you take to get there? Now, if you have never done this before, my best tip would be, because it took me a while to figure this out as well. I read like a lot of books, and then eventually brain dumped everything on a sheet, and then sieved through it and picked out the best things. Because there are three things that you have to think about. The story has to be, there are three types of stories. You're going to have one main story, which is your long, a couple of pages story. That can be the story that you can tell in half an hour, let's say. If somebody gives you 30 minutes to talk about your business, or you're presenting your business to your audience, then you have, let's say, 20, 30 minutes to talk about yourself and your business. That's when you say the long story. So that's saved for that. But the opportunity for that is not that much, right? So then you have to bring it down to about 10 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes. And let's say again that if you're asked to come on somewhere and talk about your business, how quickly can you talk? Like 8 minutes is actually a pretty long time to talk about your business. So then you sort of have that medium version. And then there's a short version, really, really, really short version. And by the way, this timeline that I'm giving you, this time of like 10 minutes or, whatever, you can bring it down to like 5 minutes or whatever works for your business and whatever works for your audience. So then the shortest version is always the 30-second pitch, elevator pitch, it's called. So if you think of it like going on an elevator, just getting on an elevator, and you meet somebody and they're like, hey, how are you? And like, what do you do? So you've got that 20 seconds to talk about yourself and your business in a way that's interesting to the other person before they get off on the next floor. Okay, so that 10, 20, 30 seconds, whatever that is for you, I usually say about 20 seconds, because when you talk, you might have like a long paragraph about what you're going to say, because you have to write it down. You're not going to just come out and suddenly say it because you're such a great orator. You may, but it takes practice, right? So the best thing to do is, the way I did it was to write everything down. It was long, it was huge. And then I sieved through it. I got the points that were relevant to the audience, not relevant to me, but relevant to the business and the audience and what I was trying to say. And then I brought it down further and further and further, because for me, writing a lot is easier because you can edit it, instead of writing like just short form and then trying to embellish it, because then it becomes a bit fluffy. You can also work it the other way around if that works for you, like have like a point, a bullet point, and then elaborate. But the issue with that is that when you're presenting live, that's still okay. But if you have just 30 seconds to have like your elevator pitch, every word counts. Every word must be there for a reason, because you don't have time to have extra. So if you think about it like that, it becomes very clear. I was lucky enough that, I'm sorry, I'm going to have a sip of my coffee, which is getting cold. Delicious. Okay. So I was lucky enough to have a teacher who did this with us in college, and she she taught us how to do the elevator pitch, and we practiced with her, and she fine tuned it with us, and it was pretty amazing because that's what I'm saying. When you practice, you'll realize that what you have written, it flows or it doesn't flow, because it has to flow. If something, if you're talking, it should not be sound. It should not sound like it's rehearsed. So when you're pitching to somebody, it's not, you're actually not pitching a business, but you're pitching yourself. You're introducing yourself, which in a way that sounds interesting to the person, and they want to talk to you more. Okay, because that's the idea, that because you represent your business, and if people are not getting in touch, then why is it that they're not getting in touch? That means you're not representing it enough, or you're not promoting it enough. So this 30-second page, or 5 or 10 minute story, or 20 or 30-minute story, that has to be very clear on in its goal. What are you trying to achieve? Why are you doing it? And what is the end goal? Like, what's the emotion your customer should, or the reader, or the whoever's engaging with it, should go away with? Like, in terms of the elevator pitch, the emotion is that, tell me more. Okay, let's exchange our numbers, or okay, give me your contact details. I need to get in touch, or we need to get in touch. That's the idea of an elevator pitch. A 5 to 10 minute pitch, what's the idea behind that? That could be also like under 5 minutes. It could be like 4 minutes, 3 minutes. So you have to fine tune that for your own business. In my case, I've seen that the 30-minute elevator pitch is extremely effective. The other thing that I find extremely effective is that, for me, I don't really do the 10-minute thing, because I don't really like talking about myself a lot. I just think, whatever. But I need to improve on that. That's why for me, 30 seconds talking about it is way easier than talking about myself for 10 minutes, because I just think it just sounds so vain. But it's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be, again, the customer's journey, not yourself. So it should be easier. So, it's, like I said, it's about practicing and improving. So how to define it, how to know which part is important. Now, that's the thing that you need to understand, that it's not just about the customers, looking at it from the customer's point. It's about the relevant bits. You are not going to put in things that are irrelevant or is going to bore the audience, because nobody has the time to be reading through or watching through you going on and on, right? So it has to be clear, it has to be concise, and it has to be like hitting the point, hitting the emotion that you want to evoke. Okay, so that's the thing. I've already talked about long, medium, and short, so I'm not going to really go into that. So one of the things that I find really helpful are the 5 whys. I've talked about those before as well. And the 5 whys help you sort of dig a little bit deeper about what is it that you're trying to achieve. And if you don't know what that is, it's a marketing trick, but a lot of people sort of go into the whys now in terms of storytelling, because it's a concept that has been adapted by a lot of people, and it's easy. I find it a tool that's helpful for anything, whether you're trying to write copy for your sales page, whether you're trying to write things for your business. Okay, so I've got a few comments, so let me just okay, so Amir says, does the elevator pitch work for investment? Okay, I don't know if that works for investment for people, but the idea is that if you're meeting a stranger for the first time, you're not going to be pitching them your life history. You want them to connect with you, and the first time you meet, unless you're on Shark Tank or something like that, where you know that those investors are investing, and you have to pitch yourself, and you have to like prepare yourself for that. But if you're in an elevator and you meet someone, the chances are that either you all, and you're putting this 30-second pitch up, the chances are that you want to introduce yourself and you want them to connect with you and you want them to remember you. This could be a networking event. It could be anything where the idea is to arouse some interest in you and your business. So if you don't, so this is the idea of that. And this is why I said right at the beginning, you have to understand where you're telling the story and why you're telling it. What's the parameters? What are you trying to achieve? And what do you want the one who's listening to you, what do you want them to do afterwards? Do you want them to get in touch with you? Or in this question, do you want them to invest? Because if you want them to invest, then you got to give them a little more than just, hey, your your 10 seconds, because they need some more information. They're going to need some statistics. They're going to need some more information about your business. And that's not from their perspective. That's more to be like, if someone is investing, they need to have a lot more than just like, a 30-second pitch. Let's just say that. Okay. So moving on, because I do want to stay on time today. So here's the other thing. The 5 whys that I was talking about, it's like you ask a question or you make a statement about yourself or the story that you're telling and how you started or how you came up with the solution. And then you ask why. Whatever that statement is, you always ask the question why. And then you have to answer why whatever the last statement you made was made, and why is that important and why is that needed. And then you go into the details of that, and you do this 5 times. That's why it's called the 5 why. And the more you do it, the more you'll understand that you're getting deeper and deeper into the whys. And remember that it's important to dig deeper, because we don't want to stay at the superficial level. If you're on the superficial level, then you're not going to connect emotionally. That's the thing. Connecting emotionally is with your audience is not easy. It takes time and it takes practice, and you're going to be tweaking your message again and again, because maybe the message that you thought you were putting out was not attracting the right people. Maybe the message that you were putting out was not clear enough. Maybe you need to, that's a hint that you need to go back to the drawing board and you need to tweak messages or change your message, whatever you need to do. So storytelling, like I said, is a process. And like everything else, to be honest, it's a process, and it takes a little bit of getting used to. And it's not really about, you can go and get yourself a copywriter and say, okay, draft my story. But you still need to give them the points. And if you don't know what those main points in your life are, what are those turning points? What are those transformational points? If you don't even understand those yourself, then what are you going to tell the story, the copywriter to write? So that's why it has to be, you have to do the brain dump. You have to get it all out of your head and put it on paper so that you can highlight the important bits. And then if you don't want to write them yourself, you can go to a copywriter and you can, get it written. But remember, there's another thing called, that's why the brand persona that I talked about also, it has to be your voice. If I go to a copywriter and they write this flowery language or language that they say or they use, and I have never used those words in my life, it's not going to sound like me. It's not going to sound like my business. So when I am pitching this or when I'm saying this out, it's not going to be me. And when it's like that, then the audience immediately knows. Remember, the audience knows, because audience is smart now. Audience has the attention span of less than of a goldfish, but they do understand. They understand what they like, who is authentic, who is coming out as somebody genuine and somebody they want to learn more from, or they want to switch the channel, scroll away, and and then you've lost them. That's as simple as that. Okay. Okay, so here's a question, which is, can you share your story? What were the transformational moments in my life? Whew, okay, so yes, let me quickly tell you my transformational moments. I was a fashion designer for many, many, many years. I would say 25 plus years. And somewhere along the line, I lost passion for it. I started, and I didn't know what to do. Honestly speaking, I lost the passion. I didn't want to do it, but I also put it down to having a business and fashion being a tough industry to be in. And I just let it go and just carried on, because that's what you do as a business owner. You persevere. So I persevered and carried on until I became a mom in 2014. And literally my subconscious had been, I guess, working at it. And one fine day I woke up in the morning and I was like, I'm done. I don't want to waste my life doing this anymore. And when I said that, that was the first time I said it, because I remember saying to my mother literally a few weeks before that I don't even know what I'll do if I don't do this. I don't know anything else. And I remember her looking at me like, are you crazy? But she didn't say anything. So when that transformational sentence came out of my mouth one morning, I immediately got to work. I was a little bit shocked that I was saying that, but I also knew that this was the right thing to do. And when I did that, I started putting into motion all the things I needed to stop my business, because obviously there are 20 people at its peak. I had 20 people. At the time that I was ending was not 20 people. That was about 10 people. And I sort of stopped taking orders. I stopped doing all that thing. And it still took me a year and a half to shut the business, because, I still had to carry on and complete the orders I had. And once that happened, and it was the last day, I remember feeling a little bit nostalgic, but feeling happy. I was so happy that it was over. I didn't want to do this anymore. I was done. And but then next thing was, what now? Like, I don't even know what to do. And it took me 5 years to figure out like what the hell to do. And 5 years is a long time of being unclear of what to do. So, but in those 5 years, I had a lot of different changes as well. So I was going through these massive changes. I had just become a mom, so there was that. But I also migrated to a new country, so nobody knew me here. I was starting literally from scratch, so I could do pretty much anything. So I kept learning. Every year I was learning things that I thought I wanted to do. I wasn't 100% sure, but I could see myself doing them. Like, from personal training to yoga instructor to marketing to UX design to brand design and stuff. Because that I used to do even before I became a fashion designer. So there was all this stuff that I could do and I was good at. But in the end, I just didn't want to do them. I wanted to pursue something that I loved doing. And it was only in 2020, last year, when, we had this massive, crazy year, that I finally knew what I wanted to do. And the penny dropped literally like that. The penny dropped when I knew that I was doing courses. I was designing courses. And then it just happened that the course transformed into something else, which was, say, branding your business, because the course was about branding. And then it was about branding your business. And from there, I went on to branding your websites and branding your sales pages and, magnifying your brand and how to bring it all together and for businesses, because businesses, I feel, don't really brand themselves properly. And branding for me is the foundation of anything, any business, any industry. If you don't know how to brand yourself or you haven't done it, that means your target client is not being connected to as much as they could. You're leaving money on the table if you haven't branded yourself properly, because branding is not just the color, logo, and fonts. In my opinion, branding is the messaging, branding is the customer, branding is the personality of the brand, the language you use, how you come across, how consistent you are, the platforms you choose, how you show up on the platforms. It's all of those things. And it's like a jigsaw puzzle that if you know what you're doing, it really connects like that. But if you don't know what you're doing, then the pieces are upside down and, and you're like, what is going on? You might have all those pieces, but if you don't know where it goes, you don't have a picture, you don't have a format, you don't have a template to put it in, then you're sort of struggling, because you have all these pieces, but you don't know how to put them together, and it's not working because you're not getting the sales, you're not getting the clients, you're not getting the goal that you have for your business. So that's how it is. Okay. So I don't know if I answered your story or I went on a tangent, but I hope that helped. Okay. So Okay. So if you're saying that the audience of this live session is niche, language is barrier, yes, Rehan. Okay, I'm going to answer you. Um, that is true. You have to know who your audience is. My audience is not necessarily everyone who doesn't understand me. My audience is someone who, this is my free training, for example. Okay, so let me just say that this is my free training. I show up every week live, and I give my free training, my free value, and this is what businesses need to do. The business is not there to make money. Yes, that's the end goal, that you want to make sales and make money, but that's the end goal. That's not the thing that you start with. You start with this need or this desire to serve. You're serving your customer, you're serving your prospects, you're serving the people who are watching you. So how are you doing that? So you have to serve, and then people will come. And that's the mindset that you have to have, and that's an entrepreneurial mindset. That's not necessarily a business mindset, because an MBA will not tell you that. An MBA will tell you you have to do X, Y, and Z, and that's how you make money, and that's how you do it. No, that's the old way of doing it. The new way of doing it is to serve people, and if you're serving, then you will get the results. But if you are there just taking, that's not how you serve. And if you're just there pushing your product all the time, there's a push marketing and there's pull marketing. Pushing is when you're just pushing your product and selling. That's sleazy. That nobody likes. And then there's pulling, is that you're giving value and you're showing up consistently and giving value again and again and again, free value, whether that's through your freebies, your opt-ins, your lives, your podcast, your book, your, I don't know, whatever. That's when people are getting pulled towards you. So that's pull marketing. So those are the things, and I'm going to be wrapping up because we're already 32 minutes. So, okay, let me just talk about, just quickly answer this and lead into my, I will talk to Amir. I see your comment, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this little thing that I have in the comments, and I hope you get it. Otherwise, I'm going to come and share this in the comments later on. So here's the thing. I have a free workshop, a 3-day workshop starting from next week, which is the 22nd of Feb. And if you have to register for it, I will be streaming live again. But if you register for it, you are going to get the workbook, and you're going to be able to sort of engage more through those workbooks and stuff. And we're going to be working through something. Okay, so the workshop is called Magnify Your Brand, and we discuss all these things, because magnify your brand is to get sales is a very specific thing to do. And this is what I'm going to be talking about in that workshop. And if you're interested, I did share the link. I am going to run this little ticker. So this is the thing. It's pages.naddastudio.com/magnify, and you can register there. If you register, like I said, you do get benefits, and there is also a surprise sort of a bonus that I give to those registrants, which is a sales funnel template worth almost $800. So you would want to know sign up just for that, if nothing else. Also, if you register, you will get the recordings and all of that, links to that, which is helpful, and you can look back on for the following few days until I take that off. So on that note, I hope you register. If you got value from this, I hope you register, because that workshop is also free. And I want to give you guys the benefit of all these years of training that I've had, all this of how to get sales, of how to magnify your brand, of how to reach the right customer, how to do all those little things that take forever to learn. I'll be sharing all those. So I hope you do register, and I will follow up in the comments later on for those who did comment and I'm not answering on the live, but I will reach out and talk to you. And until next time, bye.